Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really cool paradox, how the very act of trying to hide something can actually, well, put a giant spotlight on it.
So let me ask you, have you ever been scrolling on a map and seen a big blurry spot? What do you think that really shows you? Is it a secret that's being hidden? Or is it actually a secret that's being revealed? Because in the world of intelligence, and even our own privacy, that blur often isn't a cover-up at all. In fact, sometimes it's a giant flashing neon sign pointing right at the very things someone's trying to hide.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a big deal now, we've got to go back in time. See, maps have never, ever been neutral. For centuries, they've been treated like weapons. And what you leave off a map, well, that can be just as powerful as what you put on it.
I mean, think about it. Way back in the 1500s, Francis Drake was told his charts were basically state secrets. Fast forward a couple hundred years, and you've got Captain Cook, who was literally lying for the Admiralty, intentionally leaving key harbors off his published maps to give Britain a strategic advantage. And it didn't stop there. During the Cold War, official maps in the UK just pretended huge military bases didn't even exist. It's a classic power move, right?
You know, the map historian J.B. Harley just nailed it. He said maps are weapons of war, and the falsification of maps is a legitimate ruse de guerre, a legitimate trick of war. And that idea right there, that's what sets the stage for all the digital cat-and-mouse games happening right now.
Which brings us right into the modern era. We're talking hiding in plain sight. The game hasn't changed, but the tools sure have. Now it's all about digital satellite images, and believe me, trying to hide things on them can backfire in some really spectacular ways.
Okay, to get what's happening here, you need to know about something called the Streisand effect. It's a fantastic story. It's named after Barbara Streisand, who sued a photographer to get a picture of her mansion taken offline. Now, before she filed the lawsuit, want to guess how many people saw it? 6. Just 6 people. 1 month later, after all the publicity, over 420,000. So yeah, trying to hide it put the biggest spotlight imaginable on it. And that brings us to Yandex, which is kind of like Russia's Google Maps. So at the request of Turkey and Israel, Yandex went and blurred a bunch of their sensitive military sites. The goal, obviously, was to hide them. But for open source intelligence analysts, these are folks who dig through public data, it was the exact opposite. It was like being handed a treasure map where X marks every single secret spot. And the scale of this whole thing is just mind-blowing. These researchers found over 300 secret facilities. We're talking airfields, ammo dumps, even nuclear sites. And how did they find them? Because they were the blurry spots on the map. It's literally the Streisand effect, but played out on a global geopolitical stage. But here's the thing. This idea of using a weird anomaly to find something that's hidden, it's not new at all. In fact, one of the most brilliant intelligence moves of World War II used this exact same logic. But instead of digital blurs, they used shadows. So let me tell you about Constance Babington Smith. It's 1944, and she's an Allied photo analyst. She's looking at aerial photos and spots something that just shouldn't be possible. 2 pictures of the same place, supposedly taken at the same time, but the shadows are all wrong. They're pointing in different directions. And it hits her. It's not a mistake. She realizes that the shifting shadows are revealing what heavy camouflage was trying to hide: huge, underground German bunker systems. Her shadow analysis technique was a game changer. It ended up exposing over 600 hidden defenses right in Normandy. This completely changed the calculus for the D-Day invasion and, no exaggeration, saved countless lives. All right, so we've seen how governments try, and often fail, to hide their secrets. But what happens when it's not a government, but just an average person who wants their house to be a little blurry? Well, that brings us to a fascinating case study: what went down in Germany with Google Street View.
This quote from a Reddit user really sums up one side of the argument perfectly. They said, "My garden is nobody's business." And they have a point, right? There's this really strong belief that your private space is your private space. Why should some giant corporation get to take a picture of it and put it online for the whole world to see, without even asking?
But then, of course, you've got the other side of the coin. Another user argued that, hey, we're living in the 21st century. Maybe this intense distrust of any kind of surveillance is holding Germany back. It really gets at this core tension, the clash between historical memory and the conveniences of the modern digital world. So why was the reaction in Germany so intense? Well, it's a few big things all rolled into one. First, you can't forget the history. The memory of the Stasi and constant state surveillance in East Germany left a really deep-seated distrust of being watched.
On top of that, Germany has incredibly strong privacy laws and a cultural emphasis on what they call Datenschutz, data protection. So when Google rolled out Street View, the backlash was huge. A media firestorm erupted, and so many people demanded their homes be blurred out that Google pretty much threw in the towel and stopped updating its images there for years. Okay, so you've got governments trying to hide things, and you've got regular people trying to hide things. But technology never stands still. And the next frontier in this game of hide and seek isn't a person with a keen eye. It's an algorithm that can automatically spot the very act of hiding itself.
Yeah, the technical name is a mouthful, a no-reference image quality metric. But forget the jargon. The idea is actually pretty simple. It's basically a computer program that can look at any single photo and tell you, objectively, how sharp or blurry it is. It doesn't need a perfect original photo to compare it to. It can just see the blur all by itself.
So how on earth does it do that? Well, to put it simply, the algorithm looks at a photo and measures how crisp all the edges are. You know, the lines on buildings, roads, that kind of thing. Then, and this is the clever part, it applies its own blur to the photo and measures the edges again. By comparing how much the sharpness degraded from before to after, it can give the original image a precise objective blurriness score. And get this, it actually works. The tests they've run show it's incredibly accurate. When the algorithm says an image is sharp, it really is sharp. And when it says it's blurry, it's blurry. Now, think about what that means. You could, theoretically, set this program loose to automatically scan millions of satellite images and just flag all the blurry spots. It could create an automated map of all the places someone, or some government, is trying to hide. So where does all this leave us? Well, it really starts to look like a constant escalating arms race, doesn't it? A battle between the desire to hide and the power to see. And you have to wonder if it's an unwinnable one. I mean, we've seen it play out over and over throughout this whole story. For the tactic of hiding things on maps, you get the counter tactic of open source intelligence. For physical camouflage, you get clever shadow analysis. And for today's digital blurring, you get automated sharpness algorithms. It seems like for every new trick to hide, an even newer trick to see comes along. And that brings us to the final crucial question, the one I want to leave you with. In a world where the technology of seeing is becoming this powerful, this automated, this everywhere, what does it even mean to have a secret anymore? Whether you're a government or just you.